Hello, this is the Scientific Atheist, and I'll be answering the questions by Matt Slick about atheism. For those of you unfamiliar with who Mr. Slick is, he is a Christian apologist and part of Christian Apologetics and Research Ministry, commonly referred to as CARM. Question 1. How would you define atheism? Generically, atheism is merely atheism, meaning without theism. However, I tend to look at it more through a scientific standpoint as the null hypothesis to the God claim. In science, whenever a hypothesis is formed, in this case God is, a null hypothesis is formed, which in this case would be God isn't. The null hypothesis is essentially the default position held until the burden of proof has been met. In the case of the God claim, the burden of proof has not been met, so I hold the position of atheism. Question number 2. Do you act according to what you believe in, there is no God, or what you don't believe in, lack belief in God? I would initially like to define the term that I'm using for believe or belief in this context. When I say that I believe this, I am merely stating that this is what I accept based on the prevailing evidence. I wanted to stress this seeing that Matt Slick is a presuppositional apologist, and presups tend to like to play shell games with different terms. The shell game that I believe he's hoping for is to basically state that we are both acting according to our quote-unquote beliefs. You believe atheism, I believe Christianity, it's the same. However, this is using belief akin to faith in Hebrews 11:1. In Hebrews 11:1, it states that faith is confidence in what we hoped for and assurance for what we do not see. It then can go on in the rest of Hebrews and show how faith is then evidence in and of itself. This is not how I'm using belief. I'm using belief, as stated before, as what I accept based on the prevailing evidence, not as evidence in and of itself. Now for the question. I act according to what I believe, that there is no God. It would be dishonest and, I believe, frankly, impossible for me to do anything but act in this manner. It's the way I see reality. It's how I see the world to be accurate. For example, I don't believe in vampires. I don't think they exist. I live my life as an avampirist. I'm not going to start walking around with garlic in my pocket on the off chance that they exist. This is the same way that I live my life as to the concept of, does a God exist? Question 3. Do you think it is inconsistent for someone who lacks belief in God to work against God's existence by attempting to show that God doesn't exist? No, I don't think it's inconsistent. I don't work against God's existence as I don't think that God exists. I work against people who do think that God exists. So when a person that is religious tries to implement creationism in school, that is what I'm working against. What I'm working against isn't even limited to religious claims. Take the anti-vax movement, for example. I will talk about the people who put unneeded risk among their kids and those people with real medical conditions that can't get vaccinated or babies that are too young to get vaccinated. So basically, I speak out against things that I view as harmful and detrimental to the progress of society. Question 4. How sure are you that your atheism properly represents reality? I'm pretty sure. If I didn't think that it accurately represented reality, I wouldn't be an atheist. It's a great thing about my stance. I will go wherever the evidence leads me. I'd like to turn this question around on you. Do you think that God creating the earth prior to stars, as it states in Genesis, represents reality? Do you think that reality is represented by the story of Matthew 27:52, where all the tombs are opened and dead people walk around without a single independent source citing this event? Do you think your beliefs represent reality? Question 5. How sure are you that your atheism is correct? This is essentially the same question as number 4. It isn't like I believe reality to be incorrect or that I'm under some kind of delusion. So I'll take this question as, how do I view my atheism? So in general, when it comes to the concept of God, I'd label myself as an agnostic atheist. A high 6 for those that are familiar with the Richard Dawkins scale. However, this only comes to the mind of when we're talking about those ill-defined gods, deism, pantheism. When it comes to a personal God, I'd consider myself a Gnostic atheist. I have seen no evidence that anything can or has interacted with our planet, let alone the entire universe, in any type of supernatural way. I'm always willing to accept new evidence, but for now, I consider myself a Gnostic atheist when it comes to that. Question 6. How would you define what truth is? Truth is that which is in accordance to reality. Question 7. Why do you believe your atheism is a justifiable position to hold? Atheism is a justifiable position to hold. For all the reasons I've already stated above, it aligns most with the reality, it's where the evidence points, and is the null hypothesis. Until the burden of proof is met, it is the only rational position that should be held. Question 8. Are you a materialist, or a physicalist, or what? While those terms are close, I wouldn't consider it an accurate articulation of who I am. When it comes to this style of philosophy, I would consider myself mostly an epistemist. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, an epistemist is someone who does not use faith to know things and doesn't think that faith is a way that you can even know things. I've always viewed this as how I'd consider myself. I just never knew the term, or the term wasn't even invented until it was coined by YouTuber Bionic Dance, who I'd like to give a personal thanks to. Question 9. Do you affirm or deny that atheism is a worldview? Why or why not? No, I don't think that atheism is a worldview. It is merely a stance taken on one and only one question. It holds no tenets, and it has no doctrines. For those reasons, I don't believe it can possibly be a worldview. Atheism can be a part of different worldviews, and it is a part of my overall worldview of secular humanism. Question 10. Not all atheists are antagonistic to Christianity, but for those of you who are, why the antagonism? I'm not sure that I would see atheism as antagonistic to Christianity. I think it may be seen as hostile, but I think it really comes down to the simple fact that no religion has ever been able to get past the two words, prove it. I have people accuse me of hating God or hating religion and many other things for merely questioning the claims of the Bible. If people see this questioning as antagonistic, then that would probably be why. I personally don't see this as antagonism, but there you go. That'll wrap up part 1 of answering Matt Slick's questions about atheism. Please come back and watch parts 2 and 3 when I do them in the future. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to listening to this, and thank you for visiting the Scientific Atheist.